Was Jinnah responsible for failure of Simla Conference? Wavell knew that if Jinnah continued to refuse to accept a non-League Muslim on a new multi-party council, that he would have to turn primarily to the Congress Party, asking Nehru for an appropriate list of names. Most provincial governors responded to Wavell's inquiry by suggesting that he should form a council without Jinnah's support if he proved unreasonable. Governor Glancy thought Jinnah's demands outrageously unreasonable. Jinnah would pose as Islamic hero, and though after some interval the falseness and untenability of his position might be appreciated and his power for mischief broken, it seems not unlikely that meanwhile the central machine would collapse. Governor Casey reported that he had learned from Khwaja Nazim-ud-Din, one of Bengal's Muslim League leaders, that Jinnah would not agree to a Congress Muslim on the council and conference would break. Wavell reported to Amery on July 9th that Azad is deeply hurt at Jinnah's refusal to treat with him. The final plenary session of the Simla Conference was addressed by Wavell on July 14th. He sadly summarized the outcome of the meetings. Unfortunately, the conference was unable to agree about the strength and composition of the Executive Council. I received lists from all parties except from the Muslim League. I therefore made my provisional selections, including certain Muslim League names, and believe that if these selections had been acceptable here, they would have been acceptable to His Majesty's government. When I explained my solution to Mr. Jinnah, he told me that it was not acceptable. The conference has therefore failed. Nobody can regret this more than I do myself. I wish to make it clear that the responsibility for the failure is mine. I cannot place the blame for its failure upon any of the parties. Wavell's insistence upon taking all the blame for his conference's failure on his own broad shoulders was either a generous act of diplomacy or utterly misguided duplicity, designed to save Jinnah from having to leave Simla in disgrace as the spoiler of India's best chance of immediately achieving representative, responsible rule on the revived Viceroy's Executive Council. This could have been the dawn of Britain's true transfer of power to a unified, independent India, on the eve of the very end of World War II. Instead, it augured a dismal, frustrating return to the pre-conference political deadlock and continued communal antipathy that would soon erupt into a state of intermittent arson, murder, and hatred. No Congress Party member at Simla, however, was deceived by Wavell's claim that he alone was responsible for its failure. Azad rightly insisted that the blame rested on other shoulders. The Muslim League wanted all Muslims nominated by them. If the Congress had accepted this position, it would be reduced to a communal organization. Yet Azad also viewed the Viceroy's protection of Jinnah's pride and position more as the work of perfidious Albion rather than an act of gracious diplomacy, adding that the British government could not absolve itself of the blame for the present communal problem. So long as there was a third power, the two parties were like pawns which could be moved one way or the other. Rajagopalachari believed the Congress had shown itself willing to cooperate. Mr. Jinnah's claim that he represented the Muslim community, which was not tested by a general election, could not be accepted, and His Excellency was right in rejecting it. On that basis, the conference stood defeated. Jinnah agreed that Wavell had done his best, but insisted that both Azad and Rajagopalachari forgot the fundamental principles underlying the Muslim League attitude. The Congress stood for a united India, whereas the Muslim League stood for Pakistan, and these two were entirely incompatible. That was the rock on which Wavell's Simla Conference was shattered. Wavell wrote his own report on his failed Simla summit to King George VI, with whom, as Viceroy, he kept periodically in touch. The Congress members sat on my left, led by Maulana Azad, one of the few Congress Muslims of any distinction, an elderly scholar with good manners, but with no administrative experience and not much political wisdom. Jinnah treated him as a Muslim traitor in the pay of Congress. Azad understands English quite well, but will not speak it. On my right was Jinnah and the League members. Jinnah is a very clever advocate from Bombay, a very bad Muslim as far as religion goes, but a man of considerable courage. He was continually trying to entrap me into some concession or admission that he could use. His manners are bad. Next to him sat his principal lieutenant, Nawabzada Liaquat Ali Khan, a big, heavy man, reputed to be able, but I do not know. I wanted to have a talk with him after the conference to make his acquaintance, but Jinnah refused him permission to come. The root cause of the failure was Jinnah's intransigence and obstinacy, but it represents a real fear on the part of the Muslims of Congress domination, which they regard as a Hindu Raj. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media and support at Patreon. Thank you.